Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Weather Center Nazario. Today is November 17th, 2023, and you know what day it is. Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me this wonderful afternoon as the weather continues to clear out and get a lot better and improve hour by hour here in the sunshine state of Florida. I actually have quite a bit of good news to pass along today. We're still seeing some pretty intense activity down in our Caribbean associated with PTC 22, but I do have some positive trends I want to relay to everybody down in that neck of the woods who could possibly be facing some extreme flooding conditions. I'm starting to notice some market improvements on a lot of our model and analysis data, so we'll get into that momentarily. Please like and share this video, guys, and subscribe if you are new to the channel. I hope to see you tonight for our 8 p.m. Tropics talk, so we'll hopefully see you then. Guys, fasten your seatbelts. Let's jump right in. So we're here on National Hurricane Center's homepage, and truthfully, folks, I want to say this is probably going to be one of the last times we come to National Hurricane Center's page just because we're getting real close to closing out the hurricane season. I do really believe once this 22 entity out there can get up out of there, the Caribbean, and move off to the north and completely wash out entirely, this is probably going to be the last system we have highlighted on this chart. So get ready to say bon voyage to the NHC homepage. We're going to be starting things differently from here on out. As of right now, even though this potential tropical cyclone is still forecast to maybe become Tropical Storm Vince, we've been seeing formation chances going way down. We were back up to about a 70% chance about 24 to 48 hours ago, and now you can see we're close to getting back into the yellow zone with only a 40% chance over the next 2 days and an overall 40% chance over the next 7 days. And I'm going to show you exactly why I honestly have no confidence this is ever going to get a name, unfortunately, guys. I don't think we're going to get Vince, and I shouldn't really say unfortunately. I know a lot of folks were thinking that this would be Tropical Storm Vince. We've kind of been ballparking the last several systems in the Caribbean to take on the name of Vince, but I truthfully have maybe a 5% confident chance, in my professional opinion, that we're going to get a tropical storm out of this. And I think the main reason National Hurricane Center went ahead and kind of highlighted this is more so just to get some advisories and some watches out for our folks in Jamaica, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti. That's the main reason. They weren't trying to really indicate that we have the potential of a strengthening cyclone on our hands. There's way too hostile of an environment down there, and it's now entrenched underneath the same trough, kind of dragging the low pressure system off our Florida East Coast to the north. That's also what's responsible for already elongating and kind of shearing apart this overall system and preventing it from consolidating. And when we go over to the windy overlay, you'll see exactly why I really have no faith we're going to see any further organization from this. So all in all, folks, I hope you've heeded the watches. I hope you've heeded our advisories here through our YouTube channels and other weather sources across social media platforms for that matter. Because all in all, guys, we are still looking at a heavy rain threat, albeit a little bit more isolated than what we were initially anticipating, which is a piece of the good news I have to communicate. So we're moving on to windy.com, and as you can see, I'm trying to adjust my screen just a little bit so we can kind of get an idea of where the center of circulation with PTC 22 really is. But if you look, it honestly resembles that of a trough almost at this point. Some pretty decent cyclonic curvature, a little bit of channeling in between island features here, some good elevated surface winds pointed straight at the eastern tip of Cuba. But other than that, folks, you could kind of say that the center's up here, kind of over here, or maybe even down here. It was initially down here, highlighted on our National Hurricane Center chart, but you can see just how much that wind shear in the trough in the upper levels has really stretched this system out, kind of like an accordion for all intents and purposes. This is another piece of the good news I want to relay to you guys. If you guys live in Jamaica, Cuba, Haiti, or the Dominican Republic, any of those greater Antilles islands, please drop in the comments what it is you're really observing out in your neck of the woods, because truthfully, looking at our radar as well, it looks like our shower and thunderstorm activity is very, very sporadic out there. It looks like Haiti really hasn't seen a whole lot in action just yet. Dominican Republic could maybe be seeing some very, very light shower activity, not in association with PTC 22, and it looks like a lot of the thunderstorm activity associated with our low pressure is still lingering over the central and eastern Bahama Islands for that matter, looking a little bit more widespread from the radar coverage we can see to the north here in comparison to what is expected to take shape with PTC 22. You can see Jamaica is almost pretty much in the clear at this point. I do anticipate we're still going to see some on and off thunderstorm activity. You can see some lightning strikes going on this overlay as a matter of fact, and Cuba is still under the gun to see most of our heaviest accumulation. I'll show you that as we get into our forecast charts. Here's a look at the satellite loop, and I have this cycling over a 96 panel period just so you can kind of see the evolution of this system. At first, it definitely looked to be organized. You can see a clear cyclonic center of circulation, albeit a very broad center of circulation for that matter. A little bit of outflow going on in the upper levels, which kind of showed that this thing was breathing, trying to get a little more consolidated. But as you get towards the very tail end of the loop, look at how this thing all just kind of becomes one long elongated trough axis, not only feeding in off the East Pac monsoonal trough at this point, but also kind of connecting with our upper level feature, continuing to move over the Bahamas out further to sea in association with impacted the southeast and especially the Florida Peninsula over the last couple of days. So all in all, folks, I mean, I really just don't have a single vote of confidence that we're going to get a tropical storm out of this. There's really no discernible center of circulation, and it looks like because of that wind shear, a large amount of our precipitation or our most intense thunderstorm activity has washed out a lot as well. You could see we did have a lot of colder cloud tops earlier this morning and overnight, but that has since washed out. We're starting to see things begin to warm, which means our cloud tops are coming down in the level of the atmosphere, which is a good sign. That means we're losing a lot of that heavier rainfall in the short periods of time. So this is actually from Weather Prediction Center's International Desk for Central and South America, and it may be a bit of a disorganized mess to pick up on, but right in through here, I'll try to go ahead and zoom in with my screen. There you have it, guys. There is our potential tropical cyclone entrenched underneath a prefrontal trough. I do have my gripes about this frontal system out here, guys, but that's just me. We're not going to get whole into that right now. We'll talk maybe tonight at our tropics talk, go a little bit over the thermodynamics involved with that frontal system and why I'm a little against it being there. But again, all my opinion just based on my experience. Anyways, I do fully agree with this trough axis here, and I think that's exactly what's going to continue to prevent and hamper any sort of intensification with this system and keep a lot of our thunderstorm and shower activity spread out the way it is, which is very good news, guys. If we had a very consolidated system, we'd be seeing everybody hit with the same level of intensity of winds, of heavy rainfall. Everybody out there, Cuba, Jamaica, maybe even the Cayman Islands, if this was a very expansive storm, the whole island of Hispaniola would be seeing very heavy rainfall and about the same level of accumulation if this were a consolidated cyclone. So it's very good that we're actually seeing more isolated instances of heavier rainfall, because this means a lot of our island nations are being spared the full brunt of this system. Unfortunately, we can't get out of the woods in terms of isolated instances of very heavy rainfall, those catastrophic flood conditions that come on in the blink of an eye, and of course, inducing those landslides, mudslides, rock slides, and other things of that nature, especially with the mountainous and higher terrain features we have amongst all those islands. So unfortunately, we can't dodge all the bullets, but we're dodging a large majority of them, which is great. All right, we're taking a look at the models, and if I'm telling you the truth, guys, both the Euro, the GFS, the Icon, any model you want to lay out there on the table, they are all in full agreement. This system is going to continue to elongate and become nothing more than a trough or a prefrontal area of rainfall, essentially. As you take both the Euro and the GFS through time, there's really no discernible area of low pressure anymore. You just get pockets of heavy rainfall in accordance with both of the models in terms of what they're indicating the precip swaths could look like. So really, it's going to be just a prolonged rain event. I'm not ruling out the possibility that in our stronger thunderstorm activity, because of how much turbulent mixing we have within those cells and those showers themselves, we won't see any elevated winds. We more than likely will see some gusty conditions, but nothing sustained, nothing tropical storm level of intensity, or for a prolonged period for that matter. It's mainly just going to be an extended rain event for the next 24 hours before, if you look, that trough and that cold front at the surface is actually expected to clear everything out as soon as we get into the weekend. We could start seeing things get better late into the night tomorrow, Saturday evening, and then into Sunday, and be fully away from this by Monday. Now, one thing I want to highlight here, and I'm really interested to see if this pans out because the Canadian model has been mentioning this for the last several iterations of those updated model runs. If you look real close, as that elongated trough axis, that shield of rainfall, or I guess you could say more so that band of rainfall, begins to work its way out of the Caribbean, notice that we're left with a very, very small little vortice on both of our charts. This is whatever the models are thinking is left of that potential tropical cyclone, and now all of our models are actually thinking that the remnant energy of that system is going to pass to the west, move through the Cayman Islands, maybe bringing up your rain chances over the next couple days as we go through the middle parts of next week into Thursday, Friday, our Thanksgiving time here in the United States, and then get picked up by that front and actually try to increase our rain chances again here in Florida. So definitely interested to see exactly how that pans out. I'm going to be watching satellite like a hawk hawk like I have been over the last couple days, because if I were to draw this out on both of our charts, the models are thinking we can have a remnant low somewhere where I have my X drawn. It'll wander up like this and then get picked up by our next frontal system and slingshot across the state of Florida. And this is echoed across all of our models now. The Icon and the Canadian have been highlighting it, and now the Euro and the GFS are on board. Is this going to be anything substantial, anything to worry about? No, there's going to be too much wind shear out there. This is just going to be a rainmaker, a little bit of remnant tropical energy, but very interesting to see that we have that trend echoed across model platforms. So we're going to take a look a bit further out in scale, or a little bit further away in terms of how zoomed in we were over the last couple days, trying to get a good estimate of rainfall totals with the Euro. Because honestly, guys, you can see that our rainfall estimates have dropped substantially. A large majority of the areas under the influence of PTC 22 are now forecast to see between 3 to 6 inches of rain. I know WPC and National Weather Service down in that Central America area, and the Caribbean for that matter, the Caribbean desk, is anticipating maybe more along the lines of 6 to 8 inches. But again, in comparison to the 12, 14, 16 inches some of our preliminary forecasts were highlighting, it seems like we're slowly seeing those totals come down, which will help to alleviate some of those flood threats, the flood potential, or any more water accumulating on lower terrain features for that matter. I've been watching as many social media posts and as many YouTube videos coming out of that area as best I can, and it does seem like they are seeing some good flooding. Rivers are rising, roads are underwater, but it still seems like everyone is able to operate as they can. I've been seeing some videos where folks are out on the roads, walking, driving, etc., which I don't recommend, but hey, if that's just another day in the life of, then you guys do you. Again, just make sure you're aware of your surroundings, have a little bit of situational awareness. If things start to get a little more severe, definitely don't take any unnecessary risks. It goes without saying, guys, just be safe as this event unfolds and continues to move off to your north and east. We're going to come down a little bit closer with the GFS, because I know the GFS was the one aiming for 14 to 16 inches of rainfall accumulation from most of our islands out there. The GFS has actually trended down quite a bit, and as you take this through over the next couple days, we're already working our way through the weekend, Saturday into Sunday, and then Monday. That event should be just about wrapped up. You can see that Jamaica now is anticipated, or at least forecast at this time, to see between 4 to 6 inches of rain, and a lot of the very, very high totals of 8 to 10 inches. This is in millimeters, so you can see these larger shades of purple, pink, a little bit of magenta shading in there, or fuchsia if you want to get technical with the colors. We are anticipating 8 to 10 inches in between the channel, if you will, of Cuba and Haiti. So it looks like the models are trying to go as hard or high res to think our heavier rain bands are going to stay offshore, which is great news. We'll see how this shakes out. This is a very close-up, zoomed-in perspective, so there's going to be a little bit of bleed over, I would assume. So we'll just have to see, guys. Just kind of pay attention, like I'd mentioned, to what's going on in your local area. All right, as we shift gears, I want to talk about this heavily because we have all this upper level cloud cover blasting off to the northeast off the right-hand side of the visible satellite shot, and there is actually still a very weak low pressure center situated right there, kind of sitting over top Kennedy Space Center, the Melbourne Cocoa Beach area, and it has been parked there, no kidding, for about a day and a half now, just kind of bringing in some good onshore flow, keeping the rain chances up for our eastern seaboard of the Florida Peninsula. And folks, that's actually kept a lot of our rain chances and heaviest accumulation ongoing for Volusia and Brevard County, where we've seen upwards of 15 to 16 inches of overall rainfall since this event started up. You can thankfully see South Florida is looking really good. You got some fair weather cumulus, some cloud streaks going on over the southern half of the peninsula. Very good news. You can finally get a little relief in there in terms of the rainfall and the thunderstorm activity and the winds for that matter, but we are still seeing some intermittent shower and thunderstorm activity for parts of the Daytona Beach area coming down towards the Space Coast, maybe even as far north as Jacksonville. In my professional opinion, just looking at the jet, looking at the thermodynamics involved with this situation, I personally think we may want to reevaluate this and do an after-action review. Because of the winds, because of the phenomena associated with this, the thunderstorms that we had, the very scarce lightning strikes that you typically see with a bona fide tropical system, I think we definitely had a subtropical cyclone move through South Florida, especially once it tapped into the Gulf Stream waters and we saw a little bit more of that thunderstorm activity forming up near its center of circulation, and just that signature on radar that looked like a textbook eye feature you'd see in a tropical storm or a hurricane. I hope they go back and review this system and maybe come up with some new information, because I know a few other weather sources out there would agree with me and they've spoken the same sentiments. I believe this may have been subtropical storm Vince that made a very brief landfall in South Florida. All right, so yesterday I mentioned we may have jinxed the Thanksgiving time frame, and as I kind of alluded to with what that remnant system in the Caribbean may or may not do over the next week or so, I also want to take you through what Thanksgiving may be looking like for much of the United States and especially the Southeast as we get into Thursday and Friday of next week. We have the Euro on the left, GFS on the right-hand side, and you can see both the models now are back in business, thinking we are going to see frontal passage down here in the Central Florida and South Florida area for that matter, with a very strong polar high over the mid-Atlantic states coming in at about 1,020 millibars. Very good polar push, that's for certain, but you can see both the models are still thinking we could get some kind of weak cyclogenesis in the Gulf, upping our rain chances over the next couple days as we go through Friday into Saturday and Sunday. So it may be a wet Thanksgiving weekend, especially if you look over at the GFS. If you look at there, this is Friday night going into Saturday. If you go forward in time, we get a lot of increased rainfall activity as that next system tries to come off the Gulf. Very similar to what we just saw happen only a couple of days ago. We can do a quick sanity check using our Euro temperature anomaly and our coldest or minimum temperature at the surface level as you go through time, and we get closer to game time of Thanksgiving weekend. You can see we are expecting to drop down in temperatures, some good cold air advection across the south and the Gulf Coast states for that matter, moving through the mid-Atlantic and northeastern regions as well. And if you look down over on the right-hand side, in early morning Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Central Florida and especially northern Florida could be waking up in the low to mid-40s, and then South Florida, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we're going to have as pungent cold air advection to get you down that cold, but we'll still be seeing some pretty comfortable temps in way of maybe 60, 65 degrees. From there, folks, we're going to have to see exactly what El Nino decides to do, because I think we are going to see a continuous recurrence of these systems coming out of the Gulf or moving parallel to the Gulf of Mexico coastline for that matter, and really giving us good rain chances week by week, if not on a bi-weekly basis. Thank you very much for tuning in this wonderful Friday afternoon. I hope that you guys down in the Caribbean are being safe, are being aware of your surroundings, and taking caution as that PTC moves its way through and rains out over top you guys, and then we can finally say a farewell to the hurricane season 2023, because as of now, none of our long-range models are thinking anything is on the horizon. Not a single ensemble member, not a single probability chart, and I really do think I don't have to bring those up anymore for the rest of 2023. For us down here in the southeast, I hope you were also doing well. I hope you didn't see too torrential of flood conditions where you live. I hope that the winds were a little bit easier than some had to experience down in extreme southern Florida. We had upwards of hurricane force gusts on occasion, so I know this is a very potent system moving through, but it looks like we're getting ready in the next 12 to 18 hours to finally say goodbye to that as well. Guys, if you're looking forward to hearing a little bit more of my analysis on not only the Southeast, but what's going on in the Caribbean, please join us tonight for our 8 p.m. Tropics Talk, because I'll tell you now, Tropics Talk is looking like it's probably going to be going bye-bye as well, and we'll be transitioning to what I'd like to call, thanks to you guys, you're suggesting post-tropics topics. So we'll definitely have a lot more variety of information coming at you very soon, guys, but until next time, I hope everything is great, and I hope you start the weekend on a high note. We'll see you soon. This is Weather Center Nazario, signing out.